Hello, everybody. It is Rocco, your boy, coming at you once again with another Age of Sigmar video. In this class, we are not yet going to talk about the General's Handbook, and I need to explain why, because this is silly, and I'm not looking at the camera because I'm pulling up my notes, because this just, we need to talk. Okay? So, just quickly here, before I do a whole big rundown on everything, I want there to be an errata, an FAQ, or something to clarify a couple of rules. Because I played a game, as you can see here in Tabletop Simulator, with a friend of mine. This is from a save state of our game. They played Soul Blight Gravelords. I took out my Oakenbrow Sylvaneth. We're currently at the bottom of round 2. All right, we're playing the new battle plan, Power Flux, which is 4 objectives, 1 in each deployment zone in the middle, 1 along the center line. Whoever goes second chooses which pair of objectives goes live. The home ones are the ones on the border. All right, you score 1 point for holding at least 1 active objective. Score another point if you control both active objectives. So, I don't really know too many times you'll ever want to not choose your home objective. That's besides the point. You score an additional victory point if you have an Endorian Locust, which is the new keyword for foot wizards that are 9 wounds or less. They have a whole, generally foot wizards that are 9 wounds or less. There's a lot of stuff dealing with that, including a dice mechanic called Primal Dice. But you score an extra point, you have one of those on an objective. Alright, you score an additional victory point if any enemy wizard units were destroyed in that battle round, just in general. And score 2 for doing your battle tactic, right? So I got my Oakenbrow, I got a couple Tree Lords, 2 units of Min Dryads, Warsong Revenant now, because it's amazing. And going into this, the whole point of this is the primal magic is the big keyword here, right? So at the start of both players' hero phase. Sorry, let me restart that. I'm gonna keep this in too because this is just how shocked I am from all this. At the start of the hero phase, both players make a dice roll. For each 4-up, each player receives 1 primal magic dice. After a player attempts to cast or unbind a spell, or after a player attempts to dispel an endless spell, they may roll 1 of their primal dice. If they do so, add the result to the casting, unbinding, or dispelling roll. The player can continue to roll additional primal dice until either the caster suffers a primal miscast, detailed below, or there are no more primal magic dice to be rolled. Abilities that allow you to reroll casting, unbinding, and dispelling rolls must be used before primal magic dice are rolled. Great modifier. If you choose to use an ability to reroll a casting, unbinding, or dispelling roll, you cannot use primal magic dice to supplement that roll. Great. At the end of each battle round, any primal dice that have not been used are lost. And also, hopefully the green screen's going good for y'all. I'm trying new stuff here. When a primal magic dice is rolled, it's part of a casting roll. On an unmodified casting roll that includes a double 1, the caster suffers a primal miscast and blows themselves up. You take D3 plus 3 mortal wounds, and each on the wizard that blew themselves up, and then each unit in general, within 3 inches of the caster, suffers D3 mortal wounds. In addition, the caster cannot attempt to cast any more spells that phase. When a primal magic dice is rolled as part of a casting roll on an unmodified casting roll that includes a double 6, the spell is successfully cast and cannot be unbound. In addition, the caster cannot attempt to cast any more spells in that phase, and both players receive 1 primal magic dice. Just spontaneously grows. So, here's the thing, Right, this game started out vampires on this half, me over here. Scoring, my opponent did some. I gave away first turn. I was a one drop. They were like a 4 or 5. The new battalion. That you have a bunch of foot wizards try to generate an extra primal magic dice. They did whatever their battle tactic was. They hold one, which was their home objective, and they had a wizard on it. Scored their point. Right? Did their battle tactic, 4 points. I matched them. My battle tactic was the one where you, with Sylvaneth, you need to land a charge and then strike and fade away. Did that with Dryads. I failed a couple long charges. Life was rough. My opponent won the roll off into round 2, and they decided they were going to put the boots to me. These Blood Knights used to be a 5-man unit that were over here that came in charging into Dryads. Zombies came charging into Dryads. Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon came charging into Kurnoth Hunters. We are in a rough spot here. These are skeletons. My opponent likes narratively naming their stuff, which I love and adore, and it's great. It's what you should do. So, thankfully, my Dryads count as being able to get their -1 to be hit and wounded debuff off. I held firm. Okay? Even between all the Dryad attacks, killed 2 Blood Knights. Huge. So let's get into where all the craziness happened. I save stacked on the Hunters, had +2 to save. Life was great. So I have a general who was a Warsong Revenant that took the command trait to be able to cast their spells through an Awakened Wildwood piece. This was my free one that I started the game with. I just wanted the one. And then the Warsong Revenant's War Scroll spell came up. So I went through the top half of the round. I came out of it and started my turn with 3 Primal Dice. My opponent had 2. And, yeah, I'll just narrate what happened. Because, whoa, bloody. That was rough. So, the Warsong Revenant spell is Unleash Swarm of Spites. Everyone knows the Warsong Bomb, right? It has a casting value of 7, a range of 9 inches. If successfully cast, roll a number of dice equal to the casting roll for each enemy unit within range of the caster, or in this case, the tree that's in front of it, that can hit all 3 enemy units here. For each 5-up, your opponent suffers a mortal wound. You're like, okay, Rocco, that's great. I rolled like a 9 on the dice, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep adding Primal Dice to this. I have a +1 as well because of the Warsong being next to a tree. Life is great, right? And there's an Arch Revenant there. Didn't get to do much. And I know this is very busy. This aura is the Corpse Card aura. This aura is off of the -1 to be wounded aura, and something else with charges for the Vampire Lord. So this is busy. This is busy. So here's what I need you to understand. When all was said and done, I used all my Primal Dice, all my buffs, everything I got. I rolled like a 25. And all 3 of these units, the Handmaidens here, the zombies, big block of zombies, Blood Knights, and the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, all within 9 inches. So on 25 dice, because again, this is a ridiculous thing that never should happen, because there are spells, Skaven come to mind, where they have a spell that lets you roll however many dice the casting roll was, and then on like 5-ups or 6-ups, it's your horde killer normally. This isn't normally this potent. So by the way, my battle tactic also was kill the dragon. First spell I did. Killed the Blood Knights. They're just gone. Killed I spiked really hard and then left, and my opponent did not get a lot of sixes to save, and I left Lord Falcon Sirkirk here on a wound. Just with one hero phase spell. I had two other spells to do because if you go second as one of these locust wizards, you can choose to take an extra spell cast and unbind on them. So my two cast wizard became a three cast, and my next spell was actually to grow another Kurnoth Hunter back, which we got, and then like an arcane bolt to kill Falkirk. Then all of a sudden, I've only lost a unit of dryads this game, and my opponent. I'm gonna deselect some dryads here. Gets their whole center gone, let alone I get Durthu and this Tree Lord Ancient up the field. I score my. We can go up here. I scored my battle tactic. I held one, and I'm putting more for having a wizard. And all of a sudden, my opponent is so out of position with everything because that I don't know that spell interaction is going to stay. And this is why I'm worried about talking more in depth about the new General's Handbook for 2023 through 2024. This is really cool. This is really good. That was a scary combo under the perfect circumstances, right? I didn't roll the double six to like make the. Well, it didn't even say, right, in the rules that if I roll a double six, the spell stops. I think that should be an errata here. I didn't roll a double one. The lowest dice I rolled was a two because as we were doing this, I joked to my friend, like, oh, what's stopping me from using an extra one of these primal dice? And we stopped the game and looked it up because what was stopping me? So the answer currently was nothing. All right, that's the answer. Nothing. And a very fun, friendly game of getting to learn the new General's Handbook turned into a bit of a bloodbath. Um, yeah. Also, I was using these Aether Gold tokens to denote which objectives were live. And, like, does my opponent still have an army? Yeah. But my opponent just lost so much of it, and I have my whole army. We actually called the game. Let alone this tree lord actually getting into the skeletons and murdering stuff. Because it did a lot. So honestly, we could even remove these. Just to talk about true game state here. And if I double turn, what do I do? I could say, yeah, I'm going to go the sides. They're alive. Great. I'm going to try to grow a tree with my Primal Dice and unleash my Durthu. Oh, and also the Endless Spell for +3 to charge. And then just murder. You know? Also, worth noting, my overgrown terrain was this building, and this Ophidian Gateway. So that was round 3 right here. This is round three's combat with an extra Kurnoth Hunter I grew. Oop. I'm not perfect. You don't have to be either. This doesn't make sense that it works so well. I love this whole interaction with the Primal Dice. I loved this game. I love Age of Sigmar. We're in a great spot. Thank you for coming to hear me ramble on about an amazing combo with Primal Dice, because if you were worried about like the battalion, because there's a new battalion, you can put units in there to get extra attacks versus units that are wizards. You know, if you auto cast on a certain number of spell like Lumineth Realm Lords, like Teclis, auto cast spells on a 10 or a 12 or whatever, you can't benefit from Primal Dice. Um, Corn's gonna be very good into all this shenanigans because they have spell ignores. They can just stop me with blood tithe points. Auto unbinds are gonna be very important unless you get a double six and the spell can't be unbound. And at the same time, they made it so good because in the balancing act of this is with those primal dice, that primal miscast happening will be so traumatic when it does. But I can honestly say good rolling on primal dice won me this game, and it's a really cool mechanic. I don't know that there isn't going to be a change to that by the time the General's Handbook goes live, which is why I haven't released a video covering that or the battle plan with all the leaked stuff. When that does get settled, I will happily cover all of this. I'll even go over points. You have Scout's Honor. Um, Not that I was a Boy Scout. My wife was a Girl Scout, so her honor. Um, yeah, that was just bananas. Thanks for watching. You know, be nice, roll some dice. Uh, See you next time. Let's see if this rule stays as is, because I normally don't curse on this channel, but holy shit was it strong. Bye, everybody.